They used to call this area young and eligible. Now I'd sooner call it young and terrified. And that's because of the shelter right behind me, the infamous Roehampton Hotel Shelter, which opened 2 years ago amid much controversy and was supposed to close by now. But as you can see, it's not closed yet. How long have you lived in this neighborhood?
I've lived here for about 12 years.
And have you noticed the difference in the neighborhood or a decline since the Roehampton shelter came in?
Absolutely. So at the start of COVID, unfortunately, I was off work, and I used to be an avid runner. I prefer to run outdoors. And I remember running south and mentioning to my mother, there's so many more homeless people. I just don't understand. I've never seen so many homeless people. And then it got to the point where they started to harass me constantly. Every run I'd have someone swearing at me, and then towards the end, my final run, I had a man hurl a Gatorade bottle at my head. And luckily my periphery saw it and I kind of dodged out of the way. So unfortunately, I've subsequently stopped running. Like, I won't run outside anymore just because I don't feel safe.
When the shelter first opened, police crime statistics showed that crime had increased by 30% in the 3 months afterwards, mostly centered completely around the shelter.
I called 911 because there was an attack on an Uber driver, and then thank goodness I called 911 because the perpetrator subsequently went up to the 7-Eleven just north of us and smashed that place up, completely destroyed it, but the cops luckily were already on the way, so they went there. And then the cops subsequently, I believe, was attacked by this person. He threw rocks at him. So when I spoke to the cops to follow up, they basically said it's almost a good thing that this time he did something physically to the cops so they can press charges.
As young and Eglinton resident Melissa Cutler would tell you, it has completely changed the fabric of what was once a family-friendly neighborhood.
Like, I refuse to run outside now. I try to have someone walk with me because I don't enjoy walking alone anymore, where it used to be it was cathartic for me. After work, I'd go outside, I'd go for a stroll, and that's completely taken away.
Well, they used to joke that young and Eglinton was young and singleton.
Eligible.
Yeah, young and eligible.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Completely changed.
Melissa has been terrorized and was recently assaulted by a homeless man who appeared to be under the influence of drugs. You had a personal experience with somebody who you believe might have been from the shelter in March of this year. Can you tell me about it?
Sure. So Cooper and I were coming back from our walk. It was a sunny but cold day in March. And we were basically 2 seconds away from home. I was looking towards Cooper because I thought he might have to go to the bathroom, facing towards Yonge Street, so my back, I guess, towards the man who came at me. At the last second, I turned and saw a taller than me, and I'm quite tall, almost 6 feet, man kind of crouched down in this weird position coming at me like a linebacker, and he basically pummeled me into, thank goodness, a construction fence that was shielding me from falling into Yonge Street and oncoming traffic.
That happened in March, and the police have done nothing, she says.
So I followed up with them probably a total of 4 times, twice via email, twice via phone call. And then they subsequently called me once to basically say that they're just so busy. They're just so overwhelmed. They didn't have a chance to check surveillance. If I could check surveillance, that would be helpful. Nothing. I sent them pictures because I believe I saw him the following week doing that same bizarre kind of crouch and run. That's what caused my attention to turn towards him. Nothing. Too busy.
Earlier this year, Toronto City Council, in a rather secret vote, one you'd call hidden in plain sight, voted to extend the leases on a number of shelters, including the Roehampton. This shelter will be in place at least till the end of the year, but I'm telling you, they're not going to put shelter people out on the street in the winter. And have you brought this to the attention of your politician, of the mayor, anybody?
So the attack on me physically was the last straw, even though there had been altercations almost, every day. I'd get sworn at, but it didn't really faze me. It was unfortunate, but that physical attack was so violating that was my last straw. I wrote a letter to John Tory, and I CC'd Josh Matlow, and John Tory did not respond, but Josh Matlow did.
And what did he say?
He was very empathetic towards me. He was very kind on the phone. He basically abstained from any responsibility. He claimed that he didn't know anything about these shelters. He had nothing to do with it. And he actually assured me that they would be removed by the end of this year. So I was like, can you make that a promise? And he was like, yeah, by the end of this year, there won't be any more shelters. I'm like, well, where are they going to go? And he didn't know.
Our politicians, most especially Mayor John Tory, have turned a blind eye to the changes in the neighborhoods surrounding these shelters. And it's a travesty. It's unsafe, it's unfair to the local residents, and I'm not sure they're going to do anything in the near future. For True North, I'm Sue Ann Levy.